In today's video, I return to a couple of Ohio spots that I often visit when I go outside of Michigan because of their great action reputation to rail fans, those being Fostoria and Millbury, Ohio. As I said, I have been to both Milbury and Fostoria many times, mostly just to hang out and see the plentiful amount of trains go by, usually expecting nothing special coming, and on May 31st, 2025, as me and a good friend walked into these spots, also meeting up with more people at the infamous Iron Triangle Rail Park in Fostoria, yet again expecting nothing good to come our way, but needless to say, we were vastly proven wrong. So, with that said, let's see what was on the table this day. The first train we saw for the day was NSL70, the daily Fostoria to Lipstick turn job on the NS Fostoria district with a nice duo of EMDs, most notably the leading GP38-2 having a gnarly sounding Leslie RS3L horn. Right, and that should come back
later in the day.
Yeah, hope.
That was cool.
That is such a good horn. It's not often that I get to hear it. RS3Ls and NS. Also, they replaced a bell on this crossing. NEG bell. Yep. And from there, the great platter of action has just begun. Once that was through, I then looked down the CSX Columbus sub and saw that CSX 1981, the Pan Am Heritage Unit, was just sitting at the small CSX yard just south of the Double Diamonds near NS Blair Yard, which was pretty neat. But then after that, we suddenly get surprised by another NS train racing east on the Fostoria district, which also had a really neat overall consist. Hey, yeah, NS. Oh well.
Paint shop.
Yes, sir. Straight out, fresh out of the shop.
Paint shop, Reno. It's one of the units that has the elevated radiators.
Yep.
Right?
Lots of surprises for rolling stock today. There's more. The southern gondolas. Yes, sir.
That's kind of cool.
Well, would you look at that? 1981 over there, and you said 7012 is leading I-166.
Yeah, I said it's.
Yep, you guys heard that right. Today's action was only going to get better. But after those two NS trains, we then get word of a couple trains coming on the CSX Willard sub, so me and some guys ran down to the other crossing at Columbus Avenue here and watched them pass through. And as you can see and from what you're hearing in the distance, we then see L71 working the transfer in the distance while this train is passing through, which by the way connects to the NS Fostoria district to the CSX Columbus sub. But with that said, the action must roll on. You might come this way. I would assume so. Okay. Now he is backing up. Probably just working the yard. So we got a westbound. Okay.
Oh, that's not fast for sure.
diamond bumps, though.
Going back to the CSX Columbus sub, or Pemberville sub, or C&O, or however you want to call it, we then see CSX I-151 rolling onto the Willard sub with a rather clean YN2 AC44 liter, which also had a really nice sounding K5LA for a horn. Can't get any more authentic than that, folks. And after that cleared, we then see NSL71 once again, this time reversing out of Blair Yard and heading east onto the NS Fostoria district, which also had that same rather clapped out ex-Conrail SD40-2, still shoving the whole consist.
Joe, I'm gonna make you do this on the layup in this second. I will make you do this on the layup.
I swear, I just heard a K5 jump. I'm known for that.
You are.
Slightly concerned about why it has an control stand on that thing, but okay.
A what control stand?
It has a control stand.
And after that was through, then came our next objective train, as mentioned earlier in this video, CSX I-166 with CP7012, a script-lettered maroon and gray unit leading with 2 KCS units trailing, one of them being a mid-DPU. Talk about a nice lash-up.
And once that was through, one of the guys who was there started grilling up some really good burgers for lunch at the rail park. Until then, we get surprised by CSX I-157 also racing by in the CSX Willard sub, which also had the Western Maryland emblem unit leading. And after that raced on through, the action on the NS Fostoria district started to pick back up again, starting with a grain train of some sort, and then NS 303, and then another grain train on the CSX Columbus sub, and then later L70's return trip. So, check it out. Where's that other train at? Rolling coal. No defects. Top gone.
Did you see the bullcat popper?
Yeah.
You see that?
Okay, never mind. We got that flying into the yard. We might end off with this same train we caught in the beginning, but we got something flying out of the Pemberville. See what this is.
Alright, I'm coming.
And then on came the final 2 trains we caught for the day in Fostoria. The first one being a coal train on the CSX Pemberville sub, which I believe was either a storage movement or a train for an actual open plant, and then NS 304 crawling into Blair Yard.
I've seen when they're combined.
Good stuff, good stuff. So that concludes the first half of our day in Fostoria, and all I could say is, wow, I really was not expecting to get bombarded by this much good stuff. But little did we know, it was only going to get better from here. After me and my buddy got our traditional dinner at Raising Cane's, we then go to Milbury, Ohio on the NS Chicago line, and the first train I filmed was NS 309, which had a KCS Thundercab SD70 Ace on point, which had both a healthy Railfan K5 LLA for a horn and even its original steel bell. Once again, you can't get more authentic than that. Yeah, my shot definitely was not the best, mainly because I rushed to set up as soon as I got the news of that horn in the distance being NS309, which I never gotten word about prior to this because we all thought it already went through. But, oh well. The next train we got was an eastbound intermodal with a good old -9 on point. Right.
Friendly crew.
No. And after those cleared, the next thing coming was something big, literally. NS12N, which also had an Operation Lifesaver Jeep trailing, but mostly worth noting, the size of this train though, clocked to be nearly 13,000 feet long, or 2¼ miles, and 28,361 total tons, which for reference weighs more than a Great Lakes freighter ship. What a PSR abomination. Wow, 12N. Very large. The next train that was coming once again had another noteworthy horn, NS 4390, an AC44 C6M which sports a nice mixed cast Nathan P5 leading a westbound intermodal. And we're still not done here. After that went through, we then get another neat surprise train, NS91Z, or however the symbols go, a loaded Herzog ballast train racing its way west. This was unexpected. What the?
Neither was it for me. Where did that come from? And what are the symbols for those anyway? 91Z?
90-something Z.
Yeah, it's 90-something Z, which stands for Zog, apparently, according to a few people. Wow. So, yeah, that was quite an unexpected one. But with that said, the action must roll on. More quick intermodals to go through, as well as a frac sand train with a KCS unit leading. Check it out. Well, that smells really bad.
There's another one down there.
Oh yeah, we got our next eastbound.
Maybe that could be.
For a sec, I thought I saw the other train down there. The final two trains we caught for the night, or more appropriately for this video here, actually ended up meeting each other, both being intermodals, first one having all BNSF power, and the second having a big lash up featuring a Tier 4 Gevo leading and the 4 trailing in it being yet another Dash 9. And just like that, that was me and my friend's day of Northwestern Ohio railfanning, and dang did we get lucky. We walked away with over 30 trains caught in total for the day, which include the ones I didn't film, and nearly all the good trains in this video were caught by total surprise anyway, and sometimes you just gotta love these days. So with that said, thanks for watching, and if you guys enjoyed this one, be sure to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't done so already, and wherever I may go next, I hope to see y'all trackside. Over and out.